In a recent video, I said that parity in the NBA was so significant that I could not honestly make a choice for who would win the 2023 championship. Well, here's me entirely contradicting that point because I am going to be picking who I believe will win the 2023 championship in today's video, going over every of the league's top contenders and giving their case for and against. So let's get into it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. It is much appreciated. Now, right out of the gate, let me just go ahead and address the Brooklyn Nets, as I just recently did a video on them and why I don't think they're really that serious of a threat among the top contenders in the league. So to keep it short and sweet, the Nets seem to have as many negatives as they do positives, but normally you're not supposed to have that many negatives, so it's not like being 50-50 is a positive thing. They have a lot of areas where chemistry can be an issue, health can be an issue, drama off of the floor and on the floor can be an issue. They don't really have rim protection. Their defense overall, outside of Ben Simmons, is pretty lackluster. As great as their shooting is, as talented as Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving are, I just don't see it. I do think there's a world where they have perfect synergy and everything gets together, and at that point, if that happens, and especially if Ben Simmons at center can work, then that would give the Nets a real shot at the title. But until I see that happen with my own two eyes, I'm not going to speak too favorably of this team because they have burned me for doing so in the past. Going over to the Western Conference, we're going to be going back and forth here, and another team that I've expressed doubt in very recently is the Golden State Warriors. However, I saw a clip yesterday which kind of changed my doubt a little bit. I realize you shouldn't let one clip entirely warp your perception, but I'm telling you what I saw from the Warriors preseason game the other day. I didn't watch the full game, but I saw, I believe it was a third quarter run that they went on. The chemistry that they had, the way that they were playing with their food in the way that you only recognize the Warriors to do, it was kind of terrifying. It was like, yeah, this looks like a team that's just better than everybody else, and they know it. Klay Thompson was going off. Draymond Green was making fantastic passes. Steph Curry was running the offense well. He was barely even shooting himself. Jonathan Kuminga got 3 unbelievable dunks. It looks like he's going to be a key part of that rotation and actually be able to contribute right out of the gate. And it didn't appear as though Jordan Poole and Draymond Green really had that much beef on the floor. In fact, they looked like they both got over it. Reports from the media suggest that Jordan Poole kind of didn't really care that much. He said that Draymond didn't even need a suspension. So maybe all this speculation about chemistry issues being an issue, maybe that's not really going to be the case. That said, it's still possible to be, and I'm not going to let that 3-minute clip of just crazy good basketball entirely warp my perception of the team going forward, but I do feel as though I and many people might have stepped a little bit too far into the Warriors are done thing. The Warriors definitely have a very real shot at the championship, and after what I saw, I don't know. They're definitely not a bad pick, I don't think. Going back to the Eastern Conference, we have the championship runner-up Boston Celtics. The Celtics are a team that I've believed in big time in the past. However, with all of the stuff that went on with them this offseason, while I still believe they can be a very good team, and I still believe that Jason Tatum is going to win MVP this year, hence why I made that pick, I also don't think they're going to be good enough to win a championship, especially because I feel like teams like the Milwaukee Bucks got better by the addition of Chris Middleton being there if he's there this time. Knock on wood. I just simply think the Bucks would have won that series if healthy, and if they face a healthy Bucks, especially now without their head coach, who was fantastic, even if he's maybe a sketchy guy off of the floor. Either way, not having that talent around is going to be a problem. And the additions of Malcolm Brogdon, there's another key one that I'm trying to think of that's not there. I mean, Gallo ended up getting hurt and Blake Griffin's not that special, but at least Brogdon was a huge addition. And having that, I don't know that makes up for the difference of losing one of the best head coaches in the league. Gotta hope the guy that's backing him up could be decent. Brad Stevens could always take over again, but either way, I think that's enough for me to say I don't believe the Celtics are winning the championship next year. Oh boy, the Phoenix Suns, everyone's favorite team to shit on. In my hot takes video, I said that one of them was that the Suns would make the finals again. Now, I did say I was kind of 50-50 on it being between them and the Warriors, and that's not even accurate because that implies that it's really just a race between those two because there's two other teams in the conference I could very well see making it. But the Suns are not going to get the respect that they deserve naturally. And it's the point where it's like, are they not getting the respect they deserve, or do they deserve to not get respect? Because the manner in which they lost Game 7 is so monumentally pathetic that it really makes you question if the Suns have any legitimate basketball in them at the highest level, especially being that their media day did not look entirely pretty. DeAndre Ayton didn't seem like he wanted to be there. Obviously, Jay Crowder's demanding his way out of town, which I think is a bigger deal than some people might act, because even though Cam Johnson's probably better at this point, losing a really good 3-and-D wing is not something you can just easily recover from unless you magically find another one. And they're not going to be getting one back in a trade. So definitely a little bit of a concern there. And then their chemistry overall just didn't seem to be quite the same. That said, I won't read into it too much, but I've always felt like the Suns maybe just didn't quite have enough, and they definitely don't feel like that now. So not going to be the Suns for me. Back to the Eastern Conference with the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe my favorite team on this list, and it especially has my second favorite player. Steph Curry is my second favorite player of all time, hence the jersey. It's that one, right? Yeah, it's that one. But Giannis is a close. He's in my top 5 at least. And he is really good, in case you didn't know that. So that's one of the best cases they have. I believe Giannis to be the best player in the league. Steph Curry a close second. And I think if you just give him the adequate help around him, you have Chris, you have Drew, you have Brook doing what he can in like 20 minutes because he's only a 20-minute player in the playoffs, and I'm always right about him. And Bobby Portis brings in some contribution. Grayson Allen, as much as I hate him, the guy is a really good shooter. Only thing that's a little bit concerning is that their depth as a whole is a little questionable. Meanwhile, it feels like just about every other team in the league is like riding kind of high on their depth. Like, if we're looking at all the other teams on this list, the Brooklyn Nets are really deep, the Celtics are fairly deep, the Sixers are fairly deep, the Heat are fairly deep, the Warriors are really deep, the Suns are fairly deep, the Nuggets are really deep, and the Clippers are really deep. The Bucks, not so much. There's a question after you get like to the 7th man in that rotation, how deep can you really go? Pause. That said, I do believe the Bucks they obviously have the championship pedigree. They have the best player in the league, and I think just so long as health remains in their favor, they definitely have a very, very real shot at coming away as the champions this year. Then we go on to my favorite team to talk about being underrated, I guess, and that is the Denver Nuggets. Seriously, I don't think a lot of people are going to be ready for how good the Denver Nuggets are going to be capable of being with both Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. entirely healthy, because the offensive dynamics of those two alongside Nikola Jokic is pretty much flawless. Then you filled out the team with some pretty solid role players who more so fit the idea of what the Denver Nuggets are supposed to be, and suddenly you're looking at a very scary team if they can put together a decent enough defense, which is something they've historically managed to do. The Denver Nuggets always manage to overachieve defensively, in part because Nikola Jokic is kind of an underrated defender, as is Jamal Murray, and even in a way as is Michael Porter Jr., because yeah, he has no clue what he's doing out there, but being 6'10 with a 7-foot wingspan or whatever the hell it is, it's kind of hard to be useless on that end. And then Aaron Gordon is fantastic. KCP's a pretty good defender. Mike Malone's a good defensive coach. And then the offensive system that they're capable of putting out there, I think the Nuggets are going to be quite good. That said, they have always fallen short, and even when they were fully healthy, they fell short. So you're going to have to hope that we're getting a better version of Michael Porter Jr. You're going to have to hope that you have health. All of that stuff is going to be required in order to beat some of these top teams. That said, I don't think they're entirely underdogs either. I think if they're firing on all cylinders on the offensive end and their defense is if their defense manages to be top 10, watch out for the Denver Nuggets, man. That said, they're definitely not my first pick in the conference. Back to the East, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, who are another team that I have a whole lot of questions about. I just uploaded a video over on my second channel about James Harden and the viability of him and what he's going to be bringing to the table next year, as well as Tyrese Maxey, and the similar thing, but a lot more positive of a conversation, because I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be fantastic this year. But for the 76ers as a whole, James Harden being the question mark that he is, I think they had an okay offseason. I think their depth is okay. I might have said it was fine earlier, but like, you know, D'Anthony Melton, or not D'Anthony Melton. Yeah, that's his name. He's been really bad in the playoffs thus far in his career. PJ Tucker's like 400. Don't know if he's still going to be producing on the same level. Hey, if he does, he does. He's done it before at 1,000,000 years old. But I don't know. I just didn't love the offseason they had. I didn't hate it either. I think I gave them like a B+, and that pretty much still holds, which is better than bad for sure. But I don't love their depth. James Harden's a huge question. Health is a huge question, of course, with Joel Embiid always. I think Tyrese Maxey's going to take a leap. I think Tobias Harris is underrated, frankly. Like, people act like he's just useless, and he's definitely not, even though I don't know that he's the best fit in the world as the fourth guy on that team. But regardless, the Sixers are very talented, but as things have always gone, it seems like they had the talent and everything else didn't really work out, and I'm kind of anticipating something similar. That said, if James Harden entered this year as the James Harden we knew before, then it's wraps. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, if you want to see some more discussion about that, go check out that video over on my second channel. The Los Angeles Clippers, yet another team that everybody loves to doubt, and, you know, they're not entirely wrong. As I've said with a couple of teams here, health permitting, they can be scary, because I think this is the most deep, and maybe not the most deep team, but the most adequately fit to the talent while also still being deep. Because the Clippers, when they were very first assembled, it was like, oh my God, they have Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell off of the bench. And it was like, actually, you don't need offensive players at this point. You have Kawhi and Paul George. After that, like, just pretty much get shooters and one other guy who can kind of do stuff, and you're probably fine. Focus on the defensive end, and then just let your two superstar players be your two superstar players. Yeah, John Wall in the mix, and he's looked good in the preseason, even though his efficiency has been questionable, as we always expect. It's been questionable in the way that it was with prime John Wall, you know? It's not like John Wall can't look better than he has in the past and still be inefficient, because John Wall has historically been inefficient. But he has looked pretty similar to the old version of himself. His burst isn't the same. He's not as fast as he was, but he's still fast. He still has good burst. It's just not like generational speed anymore. And that's definitely a difference, a big enough difference that he's not going to be the John Wall that we knew. He's not looked as dissimilar as you would expect in the preseason. I haven't actually seen what he's done on the defensive end of the floor. That's something I'm curious about for sure, because he was a great defender at his peak, and that was honestly one of my favorite things about him. If you don't know, I was a huge John Wall fan in like 2017, and then he had to go and like fall in the shower or whatever it was. For real, seeing him on the floor makes me very happy, and I do think he'll bring a genuine contribution to the Los Angeles Clippers, because he definitely appears notably better than the likes of Reggie Jackson. They have the depth, they have the offensive options, they have the shooting, they have wing depth, which is like, they can run like 4 wings at a time out there. Like, if they go with their Marcus Morris small ball center lineup and they put Batum, Kawhi, PG, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could put 5 wings out there and put Robert Covington out there. And it's like, that's 5 good NBA players who are all like 6'8" and above. And actually be interested to see if they try that lineup, because there's a lot more playmaking between Kawhi and PG than people give credit for. That said, injury is always a thing with them. You worry about chemistry because they haven't played together in a year, Kawhi and PG specifically. But yeah, I think the Clippers are definitely a very good contender if health permits. And then last but not least, let's talk about the Miami Heat. The Heat have always been perpetually an underdog. No one expected them to go as far as they did last year. No one expected them especially to go as far as they did in 2020. They did expect them to go further in 2021, but we don't have to talk about that little blemish in their otherwise really good playoff record. Kyle Lowry, from what I understand, has looked better in the preseason. Victor Oladipo is poised for a comeback. Tyler Hero just got paid, which based on historical precedent means he's either going to ascend or decline dramatically very soon. That's the way it always seems to go. But if Tyler could be a genuine playoff contributor without being concerned about the defensive liability that he is, then that would make a world of difference. If he could bring that relatively efficient 20 points per game into the Heat offense, that would make things fantastic. Bam Adebayo said he's going to look to be more aggressive this year. You know, we don't know for sure how that's actually going to transpire. All I know is every time we talk about the Heat and we talk about them winning a championship, it always feels like we're making stretches. We're like, if Bam can do this, you know, if we can get contributions from this guy. And it's always like you're trying to, like, you know, that whole cliche, like, championships are won by inches or whatever. The Heat apparently really aspire to that mentality because they are always just barely nudging their way into this conversation. And for that reason, I feel like they're always destined to fall short at the absolute highest level, even if they're capable of getting to the NBA Finals. Once they actually get there, they don't go all the way. And didn't happen with the Lakers, and I am very confident it would not have happened with the Golden State Warriors. So yeah, I don't think the Heat are gonna be my pick either. But those are my contenders, all my A-tier contenders anyway. We talked about that in my parody video if you want to see more depth about what I think about pretty much every team in the league. Who do I think is going to win this championship? Well, I'm kind of split, and luckily it's one team in each conference, so I can confidently make my finals prediction. I think the finals is going to be the Golden State Warriors and the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, who actually wins that, I do not know. This is a matchup that I've wanted to see for a long time and felt like we had an opportunity to see it. It's not like a LeBron and Kobe type thing where it's like, come on, can we finally see this? But it's definitely been something that I've wanted to see. I guess I will narrowly go with the Milwaukee Bucks because repeating as champions is really hard, and I'm not going to let that clip from the Warriors entirely shape my concerns or entirely get rid of them. So that's my thoughts. Golden State Warriors, or sorry, I just said Milwaukee Bucks. It's really a coin toss. The Milwaukee Bucks are my prediction to win the 2023 NBA championship. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.